So this is going to be the hardest things about being a special needs parent. It's obviously changed over the years. So I'd say right in the early days, when he was between sort of 14 months and 2, the hardest thing was everyone saying you're crazy. Everybody. Not like one or two people. Nobody listens to you. That's your family, your friends, doctors. Nobody. And then you just get to that point where you kind of almost question yourself, and you're thinking, "Am I crazy? Is it all in my head?" No, never, ever, ever doubt the fact that you're that child's parent and you know them better than anybody else, and you're maybe not always right, but the vast majority of the time, that gut instinct is not wrong. So then obviously, I mean, this is different in obviously every situation, but for Jaden, because he had like quite severe delays in terms of not just speech but understanding, um, that was tough. So you couldn't prepare him for we're going out, where we're going, any of those kind of things. So we never ever left the house without a meltdown because he didn't know where we were going, why we were going, um, any of that kind of thing. So yeah, that went on for a good year until we could. Well, the first thing I taught him was if we were out, because that was the other thing, was obviously if we were somewhere, so we'd gone to say a toddler group or something like that. It was that transition of we're leaving that situation, and until I taught him to say bye, and it was normally to objects. So he'd say bye to the toy car or to the table. We'd say bye, and then he could kind of understand that at some point soon it's going to be shoes on and we're going to leave, because otherwise it was dragging him kicking and screaming out of the situation. The other thing was, anytime we did get in the car, literally every time we got in the car, he would think we were going to daddy's. So once he'd kind of learnt to say daddy, every junction we got to, even and as a non-verbal 2-year-old child, he knew the way to his dad's. And if that wasn't where we were going, every single junction he knew, which way we would turn if we were heading towards daddy's. And he would scream at every single junction, "Daddy, Daddy," and he'd be like, "No, no, we're just popping to the shops, or we're going somewhere else." No, or later, obviously, with a concept that he didn't understand at that point, and that's quite a recent thing to be able to say, "Yes, you can see Daddy, but not right now." So yeah, the lack of understanding, not even the lack of speech, but the lack of understanding was a huge, huge struggle for us. And to some degree still is, because there's still concepts and things that he maybe doesn't understand. The next thing, which I think is one of my biggest things, is being a control freak. So not being able to be in control of what happens when he's at school, not knowing what goes on when he's at school, all of that kind of thing, I find incredibly hard. You can't, you drop them off at the gate in the morning, well, at the door in the morning, you pick them up at 3 o'clock, and you have no real idea of what's gone on in that time. They say he's coping and that kind of thing, but you don't really know. I find that incredibly difficult. Next thing I would say is still people well-meaning, but he looks so normal, but you'd barely even know he's different to every other child. All those kind of comments, and I'm sure they come from the nicest place in general, because they tend to be people that are, I would say, close to me, but know us. Well, he seems to be growing out of this now. He seems to be, and I used to try and explain, and I used to waste my energy trying to kind of talk them around, or trying to almost justify myself, which is something I just don't have the energy to do anymore. You bite your tongue, you smile, you nod. I mean, somebody actually said to me the other day, maybe he's just a bit dyslexic, and I don't even know how to respond. How do you even respond to that? There was no words, so it was just smile, bite your tongue, yeah, okay, you have your opinion, that's fine, and move on to the next. Obviously, when it's people that are very close to you, that's a hell of a lot harder. Members of the family, close friends, people doubting you, or people who kind of have that very, well, I'd say, old-fashioned opinion that kind of like a label is damaging, which, I mean, a diagnosis and a label, I would say, are different things, and I wouldn't say that being autistic I'd hope being autistic isn't going to define his entire life, but certainly some people have that kind of opinion that, I don't know, maybe again it's that belief that he'll grow out of it, so if you kind of label him now, that's going to ruin his future. I don't really know where that comes from, but again, it can be very, very hurtful. The next one, being out in public. Going back to obviously when we used to go to the toddler groups and things, I used to find that incredibly difficult because, and obviously having his twin sister as well, so you'd be trying to drag both out the door kind of thing. Nobody helps you, nobody kind of acknowledges, oh mate, you know, are you okay? Do you want me to just hold Ella's hand and walk across the car park? You just get them kind of the stares, and I still get it now. You know, you can be out having a meal, there might be, you know, times when he can sit in a pub, say, and have dinner. There's other days when he's under the table screaming, and there's no way to know which way it's going to go, but that's not going to stop me from taking him. And overall, you know, it's not harmful for him to be there. But you have to put, that you're, you know, ruining their nice quiet meal. I remember he was probably not even, well, maybe 2.5, so he was non-verbal. Or even it was actually my birthday. We were just having a quiet meal with a couple of friends. Luckily, my friend had gone to the bar because she'd have probably given this poor woman a mouthful. Well, I say poor woman, this lady a mouthful. This woman at the next table had got up, walked off. She came back and very loudly said to her husband, "Let's go and find a quieter place to sit," and gave me a dirty look as if I should control my child. He wasn't screaming, he wasn't distressed, he was just, as a non-verbal child, making noises that weren't words, and that for whatever reason offended her, and she got up and moved. And that at the time really upset me. Now I probably wouldn't even acknowledge the fact that she'd said anything, unless obviously if she'd have said it directly and Jaden had heard her, then I'd have probably got quite offended. But now you just learn to have that thicker skin, that if your child's on the floor screaming or anything, there's nothing that can be done. He's going to be on the floor screaming until he's ready to get up, and that's just how it is. If people want to stare, that's they're probably just intrigued. Sometimes it's rudeness, sometimes it's something they're not used to seeing, I suppose. But yeah, your skin gets thicker and thicker, to the comments, to the stares, to everything else. It doesn't help, obviously, when you're struggling, the last thing you want to be worrying about is other people's opinions, so you just have to learn to shut them out. And that's that. The next thing, I suppose, is the fight for services, diagnosis. You kind of think that you get to a point where it's there, you've got the support, you've got the help. I thought that when he was starting school, we had enhanced SEN funding. He was going to have this one-to-one. It was all going to be great. It's not kind of going that way at the moment. So there is still a lot more that needs to be done, and it is going to be like a constant ongoing battle. It's not going to be as simple as, right, that's it, everything's in place. It's going to be constant battles every single day until they're sick to death of seeing my face and hearing me talk. But unfortunately, that is the reality of the financial situation and everything else when it comes to SEN services. When it comes to diagnosis, again, every time you see a paediatrician or every time you see one of the professionals, you think, right, this time we're going to get that referral, we're going to get onto umbrella pathway, we're going to, be able to use that word, because that's, again, a difficult thing. That if I kind of refer to Jaden as being autistic, you get that, well, where have you got a diagnosis? Who says he's autistic? Blah, blah, blah. Like, well, I've known he's been autistic since he was 20 months old. It's not news to me. It's not something that I have difficulty saying or talking about. The paediatrician has never said that he's not autistic. It's just a case of we need to get up to a point where there is sufficient evidence there to get diagnosis. Which, when we're at a point where, he's going to be turning 6, realistically, by the time we have that diagnosis on paper, that is quite tough, because that will be 4 years of fighting for diagnosis, essentially. So, and then the next one, which I suppose is in a way connected, the disability living, which I've got my tribunal for tomorrow. If I'd have had that diagnosis when he was 3, then I suppose I wouldn't then have the struggles for getting his disability living allowance. So, but again, everything is down to money, and no matter what diagnosis you have, they can still turn down your disability living because what they kind of put in a lot of the reasons of why it was turned down wasn't really anything specific. It was any child that age could have that struggle. Every single thing. Any child could be not safe near the road. Any child could be not safe at home. All of those kind of things. So I have to try and be positive and believe that we're going to win tomorrow. But yeah, that's my little rant for the day of the struggles of being a SEN mum.